Hey, this is Ryan from Hooktheory.com, and welcome to part 2 of our series on piano voicing. Last time, in part 1, we talked about common tone voicing, and we used it to play simple chord progressions with our right hand. We also learned that when changing between two chords, we look for a common tone between these two chords, and the finger that's playing this common tone is the finger that doesn't move when we change between the chords. So today we're going to expand on this technique, and we're going to learn some new chords, and we're going to add the left hand. But first, let's get some practice. Before we get started on the keyboard, it's going to be useful for us to remember which chords have which scale degrees and notes in them. So let's review. So here we have a table of scale degrees and notes here. And what I want you to do is to match the chords that contain these notes inside of the chord. So for example, for C, scale degree 1, obviously the 1 chord has a 1 in it. What other chords have a 1 in it? The 4 chord and the 6 chord. Okay, scale degree 2, D, we have the 2 chord. What other chords have a 2 in it? Well, the 5 chord. And that's it. The 7 chord we don't have here, so that's okay. For scale degree 3, E, we have the E chord, the C chord, and the A chord. 1, 3, and 6. For scale degree 4, F, we have the 4 chord, F. What else? The 2 chord, D minor. And that's it. For 5, G, we have the 5 chord, G major. We also have the 1 chord. And we have the 3 chord. A, we have 6 chord, A. But we also have the 2 chord, D minor. And the 4 chord, F major. Finally, B, scale degree 7, we have the 5 chord, G, and the 3 chord, E. Being familiar with which scale degrees are in which chords, or which notes are in which chords, is obviously a very important part of piano voicing, but it's also a really important part for music theory in general. So if which scale degrees and which notes are in which chords isn't second nature to you, then this is a really good exercise to do to practice. Okay, so let's get set up on our keyboards now. If you need to pause the video, that's fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a chord on the screen, like the 1 chord or C major chord in the key of C major. We're going to be working exclusively with the key of C major in this video. And I want you to play this chord. We'll play this in root position first, so C on bottom. And then I'm going to put up another chord, like the 6 chord here. And what I want you to do is first identify the common tones between these two chords, and then we'll play the voicing. Okay, so for 1, C major, to 6, A minor, what are the common tones? We have scale degree 1, C, and scale degree 3, E. Those are both common tones. So changing from C major to A minor is as simple as moving G to A. Let's do another one. Let's do 1 C major to 4 F major. Starting again in root position. What's our common tone? It's the 1, scale degree 1, or C, played by our thumb. So if I'm going from root position C to our F major chord, we're going to keep the thumb in place and move our other 2 fingers. Great. Let's keep going. Let's try 5, G. So again, we do our root position C chord. This time, the common tone is G, right? Played by our pinky finger. So that's the finger we're not going to move. Let's do one more. We'll do 1 to a new chord, 3, E minor. What's the common tone or common tones between C major and E minor? It's scale degrees 3 and 5, E and G. The only thing that needs to move in this case is our thumb. Let's practice some chords that start on a different chord. Let's start on the 4 chord. And just to change things up, we'll start in first inversion. 4 chord, of course, is F major in the key of C. Let's start with 4, 2, 6. The common tones between 4 and 6, F major and A minor, are A and C, right? Scale degrees 6 and 1. The only thing that needs to change is our pinky finger. So to go from 4 to 6, A minor, we just move our pinky. Let's do another one. Let's do 4 to 2. Common tones are 6, A, and 4, F. So the only finger that needs to move is our pointer finger. Let's do this final example, 4 to 5, or F major to G major. Now our 4 chord has notes 4, F, 6, A, and 1, C. But our G chord has notes 5, G, 7, B, and 2, D. In this example, there are no common tones between the F and G major chords. So how do we voice this? Well, we can either keep the same position, or we can switch positions. Whatever you're more comfortable with. Okay, so let's practice going through these examples a little more quickly. This time I'm not going to call out the common tones, but I want you to be thinking about them in your head. We'll play the chord on the left, and I'll give you about 3 seconds, and then we'll play the chord on the right. All right, ready? 1, 6. Great, let's do that again, but let's change the positions around. So when we start on the 1 chord or C chord, let's do it in first inversion with E on bottom. And for the F chord, let's start that in root position. All right, ready? Now F chord in root position. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to practice this on a complete chord progression. So I'm going to show the chord progression one chord at a time, and I want you guys to follow along. We'll start this chord progression on the one chord, C major chord, and we will do it in first inversion, E on bottom. Okay, so now you've gotten lots of practice with voicing chords on the right hand, and it's time to add the left hand, which is really going to fill out the sound of our chord progressions. So far, you've learned that for right hand voicing, there's 3 positions of a chord. Take the 1 or C chord in C major. There's root position, C on bottom, first inversion, E on bottom, and second inversion, G on bottom. Now, strictly speaking, a chord is defined by its lowest note. So these 3 positions are technically different chords. This would be a 1 chord, this would be a 1/6 chord, and this would be a 1/6/4 chord in Roman numeral notation. Now this is okay because when we play with 2 hands, our left hand is always going to be lower than our right hand. That means that regardless of which position we play with our right hand, it's the notes that our left hand plays that's going to define the technical inversion of the chord. For instance, regardless of whether I play a chord in root position, first inversion, or second inversion with my right hand, as long as I play the 1 or C on the bass with my left hand, then all 3 of these chords are, strictly speaking, now in root position. Okay, so let's take a look at this chord progression. 1, 4, 5, 1. What should our left hand be playing? Well, since each of these chords is in root position, the left hand needs to be playing the bass note of each of these chords, which is, in the key of C, C, F, G, and C. And remember that our right hand can play these chords starting from any position. For instance, let's start with the second inversion position for the right hand. We would play C, F, G, C. Adding the left hand, C, F, G, C. Notice that all I'm doing is playing the same common tone voicing algorithm that we learned for our right hand, but I'm just adding the left hand playing the bass notes C, F, G, C. Let's try that again, but this time starting with E on bottom with the right hand. C, F, G, C. Okay, so let's redo the exercise where we looked at a continuous chord progression, voicing with our right hand, but now let's add the left hand too. This chord progression starts on C, so we'll start with the E on bottom, first inversion position for the right hand, and C on our left hand. So if you're following along on our website, below this video, I've put some links to some chord progressions where you guys can practice. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do today is come back to our song, The Hungry Manatee, and we're going to play along using our new voicing algorithm, which includes common tone voicing with our right hand, with the left hand playing single bass notes. I've set the tempo here to 100. I would recommend that you guys start with a slower tempo, and as you get more and more comfortable, you can increase the tempo. Okay, let's give it a shot. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Next time we're going to be extending this discussion to inverted chords and to 7 chords. So stay tuned. And of course, if you want to be notified about new videos, be sure to subscribe to our channels. Alright, see you guys next time.